We've had two games. We're 2 games into this series so far, and the darling, I would say, Phoenix Suns have won both of these games. Actually, very similar scores. You had a close first half when the teams first matched up here, and then kind of the Suns were able to open things up a little bit more in the first half of game 2, but you see the score there very similar. You might not have even noticed that I switched screens here, but 105-118, Phoenix wins game 1. 108-118, Phoenix wins game 2. I think, Giannis and the Bucks are a little bit outmatched here, and I'm not sure 100% if it's a coaching thing, if it's a fatigue thing from a more emotional Eastern Conference Finals and then series before that, certainly against the Nets for the Bucks. But either way, it's not looking good for the Bucks right now. Oh, and then of course, have to mention that Giannis is coming off of that knee injury. He's been great, all things considered. I just don't know that it's going to be enough. And if you had to ask me point blank right now, no, it will not be enough. And if you look at historically in the finals, you see here, this is courtesy of landofbasketball.com. Shout out to them. I don't know them, but this is great. You see, out of 35 NBA finals, the team that starts with a 2-0 series lead has won 88.6% of the time here. So things are looking great if you're a Suns fan. Again, I'm kind of rooting for the Suns. I'll state my bias, so I'm not trying to jinx them here, but you'd have to imagine they are the prohibitive favorites. Justin, what are your takes on the series so far? Do you feel good about Suns in 7? I know was your prediction. Suns in 6 was mine. How are you feeling about things right now, this series?
I feel pretty good, and I think it's awesome to see Chris Paul perform in this series. I mean, that was just a concern just through the injuries and just COVID. How's his body going to hold up? I mean, he's never been in the NBA Finals before. It's new territory, and he's performed awesome. That's great to see, and that's bad for the Bucks. So I feel good for my prediction. In 7, I just can't imagine. I know, there's been a lot of memes of the Suns and 4 dude going around and just him taking over. But I really think it's going 7. I think the Bucks do win tonight. I think Chris Middleton's still playing at a pretty high level. So in my mind, I think the Bucks are going to be able to make adjustments to come back in game 3. And I know in game 2, Chris Middleton didn't have that great of a game.
Yeah, 11 points, 8 assists,
he's
6
up and
rebounds.
Down.
Not enough. Game 1, he was great, though.
Yeah. And I guess what I'm saying is maybe the totality of the playoffs at certain points, he has proven to be a factor, and I think he'll bounce back in this game. I mean, the Bucks are getting the NBA Finals. I mean, that's going to be a huge lift. The Suns are very inexperienced besides Chris Paul. I think that's going to prove dividends. We saw that with the Clippers in terms of how, the Suns didn't – I think they had a chance to close the Clippers out. They didn't. So I think we'll see something similar in this situation, in which I think we'll see the Bucks even up this series. I think it will go 7 with the Suns ultimately proven to pull out. In my opinion.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I almost feel the opposite in that I do think the Bucks are going to win game 3 on Sunday night. This is must win, no doubt. But I don't know, game 4 obviously is going to be so pivotal. I could see the Suns winning this in 5. I don't think the Bucks have found the answer to the Suns yet. Not just in terms of them not winning these first 2 games, but just not even being able to control a quarter for the most part. And they've gone big, they've gone small. People go back and forth. Justin, I'd love to know your thoughts. I don't think they can go small and run with the Suns that way. I think they have to go the other way, almost like 2015 Cavs when they were trying to match up against the Warriors after Kyrie Irving was hurt. And it was basically LeBron, Dellavedova, and a bunch of other guys. I'm sorry, no disrespect to those guys, but not Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. Let me throw 2 comparisons at you. Giannis right now is 2017 LeBron James, yes or no, in terms of this final series, what he's doing, what he's up against? So
Uh,
2016 was when the Cavs beat the Warriors.
got it.
2017, Cleveland loses to the Warriors in 5 games.
But then he had that, but he was spectacular, right? In terms of his performance, that the finals, in terms of basically it was a one-man show. Um,
One
just
man
to be
show was 2015. That was when
2015.
everyone got hurt. So
Gotcha. Okay.
2017, he has help, but not enough help. And that's kind of how I feel Giannis is, I guess, is my point here.
Uh, I would say so. But I mean, the thing is, we've seen with the Bucks when they have Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton clicking on all cylinders, the team is different. So, and I mean, we've seen Brooke Lopez. I mean, his performance wasn't like a fluke. He can shoot the three, and that we've seen in the past. So they have the players to be more than formidable. I think what you said earlier, Matt, it might be just a coaching thing because we've seen very sporadic performances, and these guys, I think they're on a higher level than what you mentioned with Dellavedova, and I think to me, even at a higher level than like Iguodala, we're talking about with the Golden State Warriors in terms of role players. So it just seems strange to see this up and down type of atmosphere. So if I'm Giannis, I'm wondering, you know, even though they're in the finals, that this could be a sign of, can you really win with these guys here? Because they have the talent, I think, but just the performances is just not really rising to the crop. Because I just don't believe the Suns are that much better than the Bucks, even though I picked them. Like I just don't see such a massive disparity between the two of them. And yet we've seen the Suns really, like you said, Matt, control both of these games, despite Giannis having an unbelievable performance in Game 2. So I think that might point to coaching, you know, in some ways. I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you see some things that the Bucks are deficient in that points to more of like coaching adjustments, or do you think it is a talent disparity between the two teams?
Well, I think it's twofold. First thing I'll say is I think Coach Bud actually I've kind of shifted on this. I feel like Coach Bud takes more heat than he deserves. And I know you and I have both been a little bit critical of Coach Bud um, throughout his tenure as the Bucks coach. But I'm at the point where I blame him a little bit less. But in fairness, I do think he's been outclassed by the Suns. And I think part of that too is just having that coach on the court in Chris Paul has been huge for the Suns. Like I think he, especially in game 1, when he was the leading scorer on the Suns and he was just, everything was flowing through him, had those moments in game 2, but Booker helped out a lot. Chris Paul looks like he's been to the finals several times, and I'm really impressed by that. I do think there was better preparation and a better game plan coming in. So take from that what you will. I don't know that I feel Coach Bud is completely outclassed coaching wise, though, just because of that injury to Giannis. So I'm not totally ready to like take gloves off and come after Coach Bud yet. But I do think the Suns looked more prepared, looked more intentional and polished coming through there. But I do also think the Suns are just a better team than the Bucks. I think you're right though that it's getting overplayed how much better they are than the Bucks. I do think it's more even than people give it credit for.
Agreed. I want to ask you about Devin Booker, and I don't know. I hate talking about it, but because they have the media platform, it's going to be the overall narrative of this guy's career, and that's Devin Booker and Kobe. Like, how do you feel about that comparison? I never got the sense of that comparison. To me, never made too much sense. I get the sense that they like to score, but I never really equated the two together. And especially, I get, Kobe was a mentor to Devin Booker before Kobe unfortunately passed away. But the comparison between the two guys, I just think their games were different.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about that? And do you think if he wins, this NBA Finals, where do you see his star trajectory going? Because I think this NBA Finals has been characterized as Trae Young. It's been the Trae Young show in terms of his star rising. And with Devin Booker among, I think, basketball fans, certainly that might be the case, but the casuals may not have been catching on to Devin Booker, maybe because he's quieter. So do you think, from just a star comparison standpoint, this could be a launching board for him if the Suns pull it out?
Yeah, certainly it'll be a launching board. I can't even start with this conversation about comparing
Okay.
Devin Booker to Kobe yet. I think if you're going to say based on their games right now, I mean Devin Booker
That's what I meant, the games. Yeah.
better perimeter shooter.
Sure. Okay.
Kobe much better defender to this point,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Makes sense.
Beyond that, like I don't even think it's worthwhile diving into it too much, just because Kobe has done so much. But to answer your question about star trajectory, I'm actually a little bit worried that because of this franchise and the history in Phoenix, this could be easily a one and done title. And is Chris Paul going to be healthy throughout the rest of his career? You know, Kobe gets his first title. He's paired with Shaq in his prime.
Wow.
And they just roll for 3 titles. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that happening in Phoenix, and that's no slight on anyone. It's just different circumstances.
Yeah.
You're a guy. You're paired with Chris Paul, who, yes, much like Shaq, he's one of the greatest to ever do it at his position, but he's in a much different stage of his career. And maybe Chris Paul can play until he's 40. But this is new territory in the NBA for a point guard to last this long at this elite of a level that Chris Paul has reached. So I love Devin Booker. I'm not trying to sound like a negative Nelly here. The fact that he gets a title, and if he keeps his stats going, his production going, as I assume he will, yeah, he's going to be in that top 10 shooting guard, maybe top 5 shooting guard conversation eventually, especially like if you take shooting guards' careers and say, what have these guys done up to age 24? Then yeah, it's looking great. A very bright future for Devin Booker. So I'm bullish on him. I love the guy. I love watching him play. But like I said, I can't go anywhere with the Kobe thing at this point.
Well, it was a Stephen A narrative, and I think he was maybe pointing to his game, I hope. But this is the same guy that thinks Ben Simmons is going to be LeBron. So, take that.
I mean, he does have that huge scoring game.
Sure.
I can't even remember how much he went off for. It was well over 60 points, though.
Yeah.
I know that. I think it was in the 70s.
Something like that. Yeah.
So I get it. There's some things there for sure, but it's a different league right now, and I can't compare their games with each other. But I think like his place in history, he's building something for sure.
Yeah, he is. Anything else you wanted to allude to, Matt, before we move on to kind of our second topic regarding the NBA Finals?
One last question. This can be really brief because I know we got a hard out here, but Chris Paul, let's say the Suns win.
Sure.
The odds are in their favor.
Yeah.
Is Chris Paul the point guard version of 2011 Dirk Nowitzki?
I would say yes. Different reasons, but yes. I mean, Chris Paul
took a lot similar, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I was hard on him in terms of his performances and everything going on. So that one title, similar to Dirk, like cemented. That meant like 6 titles. That's like the equivalent for Dirk. That cemented his legacy forever
as one of the best power forwards, right?
Yeah,
and this would do the same for Chris Paul.
The only thing I would say is that with the Mavericks, that was against such a massive favorite against the Heat, right? And had all the hype. I think that was the first year of all the big 3 coming together, the Heatles and everything, and the Mavericks took them out. So I think in this aspect, while I think the Bucks were the favorite in a lot of people's minds, I don't think they have quite that, star power, that impressiveness for Chris Paul to beat them. But I think it should be held in the same regard, in my opinion. So I think your comparison's spot on.
Yeah, a lot of people have made that comparison. I kind of like it.